Welcome or welcome back to my channel for another episode of What's New with Human Design, my weekly transit report. And today is Monday, December 27th, and last Saturday on Christmas, the current transit began. And I did talk about it in my video that I did last week, so you can go and find out more about it here if you want to get a little bit more in depth about that. But just briefly, the sun is in the gate 58, which is the gate of joy, or the joy of mastery, and the earth is in the gate 52, which is stillness or perspective. So just to summarize and reiterate here is finding the time to ground ourselves in a sense of stillness, which theoretically might be more possible around holiday time, although holidays tend to be very busy. But I would support you to, whether you meditate or you pray or you just like to sit quietly with your cup of tea and stare out the window at the trees, whatever it is, but just to find some time, make some time to be able to sit in stillness and to allow the busyness of your life just to settle. It's kind of like a lifestyle shavasana. If you are familiar with yoga, at the end of, certainly at the end of a practice, but oftentimes even in the middle of a practice, we'll lie down and become completely still. And the idea is to completely let everything go. The purpose of that is to allow all of the energy bodies to relax, and then for the energy that we've just created to integrate into our systems. So Shavasana is actually a vital part of a yoga practice, which unfortunately gets skipped a lot in the West, where we just think of as yoga as a workout. But we lose a lot of the energy that we create if we don't take time to integrate. Same is true with the rest of our lives. If we're just so busy all the time, just engaged in things, and we don't have perspective, it's the other name of this gate is perspective, then we can just be on a treadmill and running along and not really having the perspective that would help us to know, are we on track, right? Or do we want to do something else? I had a session with a client recently where she had been off of work for a couple of months. Her company actually pays for a sabbatical for her every 5 years. And she was saying that having been not working for a period of time, she was able to look at what she had been doing and realize she didn't want to keep doing it anymore. But as long as she was still in the thick of it, right? Still busy and being called on to take care of things, she didn't have that perspective. So actually moving into a state of stillness for her in her life enabled her to have a whole new perspective. And now she's designing a new job description for herself, which I hope that she'll be able to bring into being. I think she probably will. So that's just an example of what can happen when we do allow ourselves to have stillness. And if you're a meditator, then you probably know what I'm talking about. I know I have come to really appreciate it. Having been a person who always valued movement for most of my life, coming to value stillness has opened up kind of a whole new set of possibilities for me. And I will say that in that stillness, I do find joy. I do find pleasure. I find this beautiful expansion of connecting into the non-physical world, and that's available to you too. So give that a try if you haven't already during this transit. Then on Friday, New Year's Eve, we have another transit, and the sun is going to move into the gate 38, and the earth is going to move into the gate 39. These are two super, super, super powerful energies. I have both of them defined in my chart. I know them quite well. They both come off of the root center. They are super potent. They are in the knowing circuit. It's individual circuitry. And the 38 in traditional human design is known as the fighter, and it's colloquially known as what's worth fighting for, or the Martin Luther King gate, because it is an energy for making a decision about what you value and deciding to put a stake in the ground, and this is something I'm going to stand behind, and I will do whatever I need in order to do my best to either bring this forward or to protect it or whatever that might be. In quantum human design, it's been renamed as the visionary or visionary leader, and that makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, Martin Luther King was a highly visionary leader, and it's the ability to be able to see into the future how what you're really caring about, the values, the standards, the point of view that is super important to you, and how you can project out the development of that into the future. That's one of the gifts of the 38, is not just in this moment, but being able to have a sense of what's possible and giving energy to that positive possibility, rather than allowing oneself to spiral downward into the negative possibilities of what would happen if this thing that you care about is going to be demolished, basically, right? Or never developed. And we can look at voting rights again right now, with what happened with Martin Luther King, right? He was a huge advocate for voting rights. And we are, again, in a time of a lot of turmoil around voting rights here in the United States. This is a thing that many people are standing up and saying, this is what is worth fighting for. And that we want to envision a country in which everyone has a vote, and everyone has easy access to voting, whether that is, at different hours, or we make certainly the presidential election day, but election day is a national holiday, and we make different ways of getting into the voting booths easier for people so that more people can vote. There's so many different initiatives that people are looking at, and so that's an example of how something that happened, decades ago is still really vital for us and important for us to stand behind and use our visionary power for, and also our engagement with the world. On the other side of the root center is the gate 39, which in traditional human design is known as Provocation, and in quantum human design is known as Recalibration. This is also a super potent energy. You can imagine something called TheFighter, right? Or the visionary leader. That is, powerful energy. But this on the other side is just as powerful, but in a different way. So Provocation is disruptive, right? Provoking. And what I've come to understand is sometimes provocation is really important. Now, I know before I came to human design and I didn't really understand what that energy was, sometimes I could be provocative without really meaning to, or I didn't realize that what I was going to say or something I was going to do was going to be so provocative to other people. And because it's individual circuitry, I honestly didn't care all that much if it was problematic to other people. But as I've grown and matured, and as I've come to understand what this energy is more in human design, is I've grabbed a hold of it as a positive force for disruption. In the sense that if we're in a pattern and the pattern is not working, and I think of patterns as these programs that we have that are in our subconscious, that are orchestrating our lives from below the level of awareness, that we want to be able to disrupt that. And in the work that I do as a mentor coach that I've been doing for a long time, as a teacher, is provoking people to some degree to take a look at those programs that are in there and not just take them for granted. I was just doing a reading for someone, and I was saying back to her basically what she had been saying to me. And I wasn't saying it in a particularly provocative way, but I was also purposeful about it. And she said, when you say it back to me like that, it really sounds kind of ridiculous, doesn't it? I said, yeah, kind of. It doesn't really make sense to me. She's like, it doesn't really make sense, huh? But she was in a program where it was just running, and this is what she just thought, right? Because she was identified with that program. And just me sending it back to her, saying back to her what she had said, with the intention that she would be able to recalibrate her perspective into something that was more accurate and authentic for her. She was able to hear what I said and have this kind of moment of disruption, which is also the gate 51, which I have, but we're talking about the 39 right now. And it can help us to become more clear, right? And to be able to be taking off some of that scaffolding of conditioning, which is confining us into perspectives that are not really accurate to who we are now or how we think about ourselves or our lives now. The mate of the gate 39 is the gate 55, which is an emotional energy. It's on the emotional solar plexus. And that has to do with abundance through trust, through faith, through believing that we will always have what we need when we need to have it. It's not necessarily abundance like we have, huge bank account in reserve or something like that. It's more about trusting in the abundance of the universe and that we will receive the resources that we need when we need them. And so the 39, that provocation or recalibration, can be helping to stimulate us when we go into scarcity. And scarcity makes us feel like we don't have enough, even if we have enough money in the bank for all of our expenses for 5 years. It can lead us into this place of scarcity. And then we're not in faith. We're not in trust that we'll have the resources that we need when we need to have them, which is what the 55 is all about. So that 39 can be disrupting that sense of scarcity, which can also then lead to greed and gluttony because we overdo because we're afraid that we don't have enough. Just two sides of the same coin. And so this is about being able to free ourselves from that, to provoke ourselves and recalibrate our belief system so that we can really align with the universe and the understanding that we will have what we need when we need to have it. As we can ground ourselves in that sense of abundance and of plenty of resources of all different kinds, and I'm not talking about the kind of crazy idea that has been running Western culture, which is this idea that the earth has an infinite amount of resources and we can take everything that we want and there'll never be an end to those resources. Because the truth is that on the physical plane, there are a certain number of resources, right? I mean, the forests have been of a certain size and they've been largely decimated, right? And so some places we're aiming to rebuild the forest, and that's good. But it's not that we could cut down every tree on the earth and that kind of abundance, okay, that kind of sense of resources. It's much more of the resources of faith and the resources of trust that the universe is going to provide for us, and that it's going to bring to us what we need when we need it. Because this other that I was just talking about really is based in that scarcity greed piece, right? And so we're stepping out of all that. So when we ground ourselves into the sense of the abundance of the universe and know that we can recalibrate our belief systems so that we're really holding that as our foundation, that then enables us to use our life force energy to be able to put that stake in the ground for what we believe in and put our energy behind the things that are important to us and the causes that matter to us. And so that we can do that kind of work in the world as well. But it's important that it's not coming from scarcity or from greed, because that's going to throw off the visionary quality of what the 38 makes available to us. And my belief is that 38 is part of the energies in the chart that are really leading us into the new world and how we can be creating aspects of that right now. And it's joining with the 39 here in this transit shows us exactly how we need to be doing that. This is one of the things I love about human design, is there's so many ways that it gives us guidance to know how we need to show up in the world and what we can do to evolve ourselves so that we can become the people that can be creating this new world, and how the kind of capacities that we need to develop that maybe we never learned how to develop. Like maybe, I know for me, developing faith that I would have the resources that I need when I need to have them, that is something I've had to focus on. I've had to build that capacity. I was not brought up with that capacity at all. I haven't lived most of my life with that capacity. But you can absolutely create it. Just like you can create the capacity to put a stake in the ground and decide to be a visionary leader around that which you think is important. We can all build these capacities. And that doesn't mean you have to run for political office, right? But it does mean that there are pathways in your life right now where you could be stepping forward. So my suggestion for you is just to be leaning into that, to be reflecting on that and asking yourself maybe some generative questions if you're a generator or a manifesting generator, or really any type can do this, which is, I wonder what is the highest expression of my visionary leadership right now, of this gate 38, of me knowing what's worth fighting for. I wonder what the highest expression of that is. And I wonder how I can create a stable base for myself around recalibrating my belief system so that I have what I need in order to be able to do that work. Sounds like a juicy topic to do this week. I also want to let you know about a couple of ebooks that I have completed recently called Getting Started with Human Design, and the link is right here. It's free. It's my gift to you, and it will also be down in the description, and it has beautiful full color illustrations similar to the ones that I have here in these videos, that you get to take to understand the parts of the chart and to be able to look at your incarnation cross to start to get a sense of the centers. And then there's a reflection journal, which takes you deeper into your understanding, helps you retain what you're learning, but then also asks you some deeper questions about what you think human design can help you to experience in your life, how you can get from where you are right now to what you really long for in your life. And if you've been following me for a while, you know that I use human design as a transformational tool, and I think that that is really its highest power. And so this book is the first step to be able to do that. There is another step after that called Transforming Your Life with Human Design. There are another couple of set of ebooks, and if you go and you get the first one, you'll find out about the second one. All right. Many blessings, much love, happy holidays. Bye for now.